Hey guys, so I've got this drip watering kit from Rainbird here. I picked this up at Lowe's yesterday for around $45. The kit comes with pretty much everything you need to do a drip irrigation system in your garden. That is with the exception of a filter. Not sure why they don't include this in the kit and just add on a few more dollars, but this cost about $10 by itself. I'm not sure why they don't include it. Anyway, it comes with pretty much everything else that you need to start off a drip irrigation system, at least hopefully. I'll go through the contents of the box in a little bit, but the reason I bought this is because the temperature outside has been in the hundreds for the last couple weeks, and the plants are drying out every other day, pretty much. And I'm having to go outside and water them by hand every 2 days. So that's getting kind of old really quickly. So I'm going to give this a shot and see if this will help. Hopefully I can just turn this on, kind of leave it on for a few hours and forget it. And maybe later on I'll put a timer on it, and that way I don't have to water the plants by hand all the time in the sun. That burns me and is really hot and makes me sweat, which I don't like. All right, we'll go ahead and take a look at the contents of the box in a sec. So here's everything that pretty much came in the box. We've got 50 feet of 1/2-inch tubing, even though the box says that this is actually 0.7 diameter tubing, which is kind of weird. Not really sure why that is. We've got some very sparse instructions here with some parts list, about 2 or 3 pages. A random piece of paper that says don't return this to the store if you have missing parts, which I have no idea how I'm going to figure that out, because these are the parts that you get. You get a full Ziploc bag full of just pretty much everything that's in the box. So I'm not going to go ahead and count through that. Hopefully you can see all of this stuff, but it's got galvanized stakes, some connectors, some risers, 50 feet of 1/4-inch tubing, some emitters, you know, all the little parts that you need to put the system together. It's kind of weird they just put it together in a big Ziploc bag like they used to do Legos back in the day. You know, you just basically get a pile of parts and like figure it out, make something. Anyway, so aside from that, you've got 4 risers. I think the color coding means they're different, either gallons per hour or different spray patterns. So this is pretty much everything in the box. As you can see, it's got a lot of stuff in there. This is actually what comes in the box. I don't know if you can see that. So I won't go through all of these, but it's a pretty comprehensive list of stuff. Hopefully it's everything that I need. I did go ahead and get some additional drippers, these little things right here, and some other little parts like the filter, as I mentioned before. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to put this together in the garden in a bit. First things first though, this tubing is really stiff. So I'm gonna go throw this in the sun for a couple hours to soften it up. I've seen a few other people on YouTube say that that's the thing to do. So I'm gonna follow their lead because I don't think this is really flexible right now. It's actually pretty stiff. So I'm gonna go throw that and the 1/4-inch tubing in the sun and leave them out there for a couple hours, and hopefully that softens them up. All right guys, so here's how the system's gonna lay out. This is gonna basically be the layout that comes out of your spigot. So this is the spigot that comes out of your house where you could usually connect your hose. You're gonna start off with a backflow preventer, which comes in the kit. This just basically keeps water from going back into your pipes and contaminating them. So nothing really major there. This is, I think this is the pressure regulator. So this is a 25-pound pressure regulator that comes again with the kit. This just basically reduces the pressure coming from the spigot so that it doesn't, you know, pop the hoses off of the drip irrigation system. That goes into a filter, which, as I mentioned before, does not come with the kit. So you have to buy this for an extra $10. You could get away with not using it, but probably just good insurance to keep, you know, the lines from being clogged from any sand or debris that comes out of your water system. So cheap insurance there. And then this is the hose adapter. So this is actually going to connect to the drip irrigation line. So you're going to put your 1/2-inch line onto this and tighten it down a little bit, and this will clamp on. And then this will obviously connect onto the filter. But in normal circumstances, what I'm going to do is make a little change. So I'm going to run a hose from this filter, and then onto the hose, I'm going to add this little quick connect or disconnect, whatever you want to call it. You can get these for about $6 or less at Home Depot or online, depending on where you want to get it. And all this does is allow me to disconnect the hose from the drip irrigation system and move it to another area in the yard. And the reason for that is I've got 3 different areas in the yard where I'm planting stuff. I don't want to run drip irrigation line all on the outskirts of my fence because by the time I start to cut the grass and do weed whacking, I'm sure I'm going to hit the line somewhere. So I'd rather just basically create 3 separate little areas that I can connect and disconnect as I want to. Let the system run and then disconnect them and go move on to the next area. A lot easier. So what I'm going to do here is I'll take this section right here, which I think is the male section, and just add that to the hose adapter. So this way this will go into the first drip irrigation line, and then I can just snap this on and pretend the hose is right here, and so I can connect and disconnect this as I want to. And as I mentioned, the filter is going to have a hose that leads all the way down to the end of this little connector here. So real simple, as you can see, nothing major here. So backflow preventer, pressure regulator, filter, quick connect, and then the hose adapter. And let me show you how we're going to attach the hose. So I thought about cutting this tubing up, but I think for the first set of container plants that I have, I'm just going to run this in one continuous tube versus trying to cut it. So we'll see how that works. So for right now, all you need to do is, this has been sitting out in the sun for a little bit. Fortunately, it's cooled down a little bit since it's been inside, but it's still kind of pliable. So what you need to do here is just basically take this. Oops. So loosen that up and basically just try to push this onto the end of the tubing, and it's going to take a little bit of pressure. You can also heat this up with a little bit of a candle or a torch, just slightly to get it soft. It's still soft enough. So push it on until it gets to the first nubbin. I'm going to call it a nubbin, and then basically tighten this down to make sure that it's in place. So once you do that and it's nice and secure, which I'll tighten it some more after once I get off camera. But yeah, I'm trying to pull this apart and it's pretty on there now. So that's good. So we'll go ahead and start running this line outside and then cutting the line to size so that it fits the container garden. All right, we'll take that as the next step. Okay, as you can see, I've run the hose behind the peppers. I was trying to just use the entire hose and bend it around the peppers, but unfortunately that proved to be a lot of work and the hose kept getting kinked. I think it would work if you're doing this before the season starts, but trying to weave this inflexible tube in between these peppers was not fun. I broke a branch on a pepper tree. Luckily there wasn't many peppers on it, so I decided at that point to just use a 90-degree elbow. Hopefully these don't blow out. They came with the kit, but if they do, I'll replace them with better ones or just use some ratchet down clamps on them. So basically this goes all the way to the end of the run. And then I terminated it here with this. Hopefully you can see that. So I use these little, I don't know what they call these. You're supposed to just crimp the tube and then put this little double O-ring over it. I added some added insurance by adding one of these drainage sleeves at the end of it. So at the end of the season, I can open this up, drain all the water out of it, and keep it from freezing. So next thing we're going to do is add some drip irrigators. So let me go ahead and do that next. So it quickly rose to 100 degrees outside. I didn't want to get heat stroke and sweat a lot, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how to mount these drip irrigators in the cool AC. So obviously this is your 1/4-inch tubing that you've got running behind the plants. This is your 1/4-inch tube that you're going to use to run to your drip irrigators and then connect to the main tubing itself. The kit comes with this little punch tool. You go ahead and add your drip irrigator ports, at least that's what I'm going to call them, onto this little tool and puncture them through the 1/2-inch tubing. Now I'm going to use a 2 gallon per hour port, and this limits the amount of water that can flow through it. And you can use a gallon, you can use 1/2 gallon, you don't even need to use these, you can just run it straight if you want it straight to the tubing. It just depends on what you want to do. I'm going to use these 2 gallons. And with these 2 gallons, I think it noted that the way you should mount them to the tubing depends on the length of the run of 1/4 inch tubing that you're going to do. So over 5 feet, you want to mount this on the end of the tubing. If it's under 5 feet, you want to mount this directly to the tubing. So what I'm going to do is show you how to do that now. So these are going to be under 5 feet because my tube runs right behind the containers themselves. So I'm going to run a tube for every plant. So all you do is take this, got this little red part, just pop it into this little circle right here. And as you see, I've already run some holes in here, but I'm going to show you again. I was just doing that as an experiment. So all you've got to do is try not to stab yourself. It'd probably be better to put this on a flat surface and just kind of twist it in there. And that's all there is to it. So this mounts in there very securely. All you need to do now is run your tubing and pop it onto the end of this emitter. And then you've got these cool little things that come with the kit as well. So this is just a stake. You run this into the ground, and then these two little pieces are just little accessories. So I'll show you, they come attached to the stake, kind of like a little Lego piece or a model piece. I've already broken those off on this one. So all you do now is run this tubing through the port, and I think there's a larger side, at least I think it's larger. I usually run it through the larger side over here. And then what I'm going to do is run this behind the, so as you see, it kind of clamps in there nicely. And then this little thing, I didn't even realize this, but this is a nice little feature. You kind of bend these together, and let's see if I can do this on camera. And this forms a little cap that holds these together and clamps it into place if you do it right. So there you go. So this thing won't pull out, and it's really kind of cool. It's a nice little feature that I didn't even know they had. Now let's say, for example, you messed up and you wanted to take this little 2-gallon port out. The tool comes with a little side notch. So all you need to do here is just run it through the end of the tube, the end of the port, and just kind of pop it out. There you go. And you can reuse that port again if you want. And in order to plug this, they've got these little things called, I think they're called goof plugs. They look similar to this, and they've just got an end cap on the end of it. All you need to do is just plug that in there using the tool, like you would like this, and just pop it in there, and it's like this hole doesn't exist anymore. You've just got a little nubbin that'll stick out the side, kind of like this. And the water won't flow through here if it's capped, and your tube will be as good as new, or nearly as new. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and wait until it cools down a little bit, and then I'm going to go outside, you know, put in all the emitters for each one of the plants, and then show you a test run of how it's working. All right, so I'm going to go get a drink because it's hot outside. So here's how you clamp on the connector. So basically all I need to do is, hopefully I can do this one-handed. Yeah. There we go. So anytime I need to take this off, I just go ahead and pop it off like that, and I can move it to the next area of the garden. As you see, here's the assembly coming out of the spigot. I've got a splitter, obviously. This one goes to the actual drip irrigation system. Well, no, this one goes to the drip irrigation system, and this one just goes to a common sprinkler head attachment that I've got. So here's the backflow regulator. This is the pressure valve. That's at 25 psi, and then this is the filter itself that doesn't come with the kit that you have to buy. And then the transition point to the 1/2-inch black tube is on the end of the hose. So we'll show you that in a second. But right now I'm going to go ahead and turn this on and actually switch the valve over. So we should have some pressure over there, and we'll go check out how she's working. Okay, as you can see, this little bubbler is working well. We've got the connector on here. This actually had 2 blowouts. I tightened it down as much as I could. I may have to go to Home Depot and get a clamp to put on it, because I don't know if this little plastic piece can hold it in there. So all I've done is turn the water on really slightly, and it seems to be working better now. But as you see, water is flowing onto every plant. is getting some water back there. Even the Asian bear is getting some water. And as you can see, the system's flowing pretty evenly across the board, which is good. Now this is towards the end of the line. And I've even got one here for the low time plant. As you can see, it's bubbling away, just giving some water. The only one that's not doing too well is this little bubbler right here, which I think is my fault for putting those lines too close to each other, so I might redo that. But as you see, everything's getting water. Hopefully this makes it a lot easier to water the plants going forward, so I don't have to be in the sun for hours on end. And as you see, the plants are looking a little dry, so I'll leave this running for about an hour and then come check on it and probably do the rest for the garden. So hopefully you guys like this project. It wasn't too expensive. There's probably cheaper options on the market, on the Amazon marketplace, but Rainbird is a well-known brand. I've used their products before and I've always been happy with them. So you guys can go ahead and give it a shot. You can also use a different system if you want, but it's a pretty easy project, not too expensive, and hopefully it works out. So hope you guys like this project. Like and subscribe, and let me know if you have any comments down in the comment section below. All right, you guys have a good one.